For 300 years, no Andromedan ship had entered the Sol system. Not one. No warship. No trader. No research vessel. Not even a rescue ship. Every Andromedan captain learned the same rule before taking command. Never cross the red line around Sol. Not for war. Not for rescue. Not for any reason. Most young officers thought it was an old story, a warning from another age. Humans had disappeared from the galaxy almost 300 years ago. Their colonies were empty. Their ships were gone. No human voice had been heard beyond Sol. Some believed humanity was dead. Others believed the humans had destroyed themselves. Commander Vale believed something simpler. He believed the Andromedan Council was afraid of ghosts. His ship, the Silver Dawn, moved through deep space near the edge of the Forbidden Zone. Vale stood on the bridge with his hands behind his back. On the main screen, the Sol system looked small, quiet, harmless. A yellow star burned in the darkness. 8 planets moved around it. Nothing else. Vale almost laughed. "This is the system our people fear?" he asked. No one answered. His first officer, Sarah, looked at the red line on the navigation screen. "We should not be this close," she said. Vale turned toward her. "We are still outside the line. Only by 12,000 kilometers. In space, 12,000 kilometers is not close." Sarah did not smile. "The law says we must stay 1,000,000 kilometers away." Vale looked back at the screen. The law was written 300 years ago. The law is still active. Before Vale could answer, an alarm filled the bridge. A bright signal appeared on the screen. Sarah moved quickly to her station. "Distress signal." "Source?" Vale asked. "Research Vessel Archon 7. Andromedan ship. 34 crew members." Vale stepped closer. "Location?" Sarah froze. The bridge became silent. Vale already knew the answer. "Say it." Sarah looked at him. "Inside the Forbidden Zone." A cold feeling moved through the room. The distress signal repeated. "This is Archon 7. Engines failing. Life support damaged. We need help." Then came a burst of static. "Please." The voice stopped. Vale looked at the red line. The research ship was moving deeper into Sol. One officer whispered, "We cannot follow them." Vale turned sharply. "There are 34 people on that ship. The law is clear. So we leave them to die?" No one answered. Sarah stepped beside him. "Commander, we must contact the council." "How long will that take?" "At least 4 hours." Vale pointed at the damaged ship. "They have less than one." Another distress call arrived. This time, the voice sounded weaker. "Anyone, please respond." Vale made his choice. "Take us across the line." Several officers stared at him. Sarah's face went pale. "Commander, that is an order." The engines of the Silver Dawn increased power. The ship moved forward. 12,000 kilometers. 8,000. 3,000. The red line filled the navigation screen. Then they crossed it. Nothing happened. Vale waited. 1 second. 5 seconds. 10. The engines continued to work. The stars remained bright. Vale smiled. "You see?" No one spoke. He looked at Sarah. 300 years of fear, all because of an empty system. Then every star vanished. The main screen turned black. The lights went out. The engine stopped. Vale's smile disappeared. Emergency lights came on. Red shadows filled the bridge. "Report." Vale shouted. "No engine power. Navigation is dead. Weapons are offline. Communications are gone." Vale grabbed the side of his command chair. "What hit us?" "Nothing." "Then restart the systems." "We can't." Sarah stared at her screen. "Commander." "What?" "Our power is still active." Vale looked at her. "That makes no sense." "I know." She turned her screen toward him. "The reactor is working. Every system has power. Then why is nothing working?" Sarah slowly looked toward the dark main screen. "Something is stopping us from using it." The bridge became very quiet. Vale felt his skin grow cold. A small light appeared on the main screen. Then another. Then hundreds. They were not stars. They were objects. Small machines surrounded the Silver Dawn. Thousands of them. Vale stared. Where did they come from? The sensor officer shook his head. They were already here. Impossible. They were invisible to us. One of the machines moved closer. It was no larger than Vale's hand. A blue light flashed on its surface. Then a voice came through the bridge. A human voice. Calm, clear, unknown vessel. You have entered a system that does not exist. No one moved. Vale could hear his own breathing. The voice continued. State your purpose. Vale stepped toward the main screen. This is Commander Vale of the Andromedan vessel Silver Dawn. We entered to rescue one of our ships. Silence. Vale waited. Then the human voice returned. There is no ship to rescue. Vale looked at Sarah. Show them the signal. I cannot. Communications are still locked. The human voice spoke again. The vessel called Archon 7 is not damaged. Vale's eyes narrowed. What? A new image appeared on the main screen. The research ship was there. Its engines were working. Its weapons were active. It was moving away from them. Vale stared in shock. They lied. Sarah looked at him. It was a trap. Who sent them? Before anyone could answer, the Archon 7 suddenly exploded. A white flash filled the screen. Several officers cried out. Vale stepped back. What happened? The sensor officer looked terrified. The ship destroyed itself. Why? I don't know. Then a message appeared on Vale's private command screen. It came through a secret military channel. Only senior Andromedan officers knew that channel existed. Vale read the words. His blood went cold. Mission failed. Destroy all evidence. Do not allow the Silver Dawn to return. Sarah saw his face. Commander? Vale closed the message. Nothing. But it was not nothing. Someone in the Andromedan government had sent the research ship into Sol. Someone had wanted Vale to follow it, and now that person wanted him dead. A deep sound moved through the ship. The floor shook. Vale looked up. What was that? The sensor officer stared at the main screen. Something is moving. Where? Behind Neptune. Vale frowned. Show me. The main screen changed. The blue planet appeared. At first, there was nothing unusual. Then the darkness behind the planet moved. Vale stopped breathing. A shape slowly came forward. It was larger than any ship he had ever seen. Much larger. The vessel had been hidden behind Neptune. Its black surface reflected almost no light. There were no bright engines, no visible weapons, no markings. Then part of the ship passed beside the planet. Vale understood its true size. The bridge became silent. One officer whispered, "That is impossible." Vale agreed. The ship was almost as long as a small moon, and it was human. The human voice returned. Commander Vale. Vale looked at the screen. How do you know my name? The voice ignored the question. Your people have obeyed the agreement for 300 years. Vale felt his heart beat faster. What agreement? Silence. Then the voice said something that changed everything. Ask your council. Vale looked at Sarah. She looked just as confused. What agreement? Vale asked again. This time, a face appeared on the screen. Human. Female. She had dark hair and calm eyes. She wore a simple black uniform. Vale had seen old pictures of humans in history records. But those pictures were 300 years old. This woman looked alive. Very alive. Who are you? Vale asked. Captain Elena Ward. What is that ship? The human captain looked at him for a long moment. Then she said, Old? Vale almost laughed from fear. Old? Yes. How old? Older than your current empire. Several officers looked at each other. Vale stepped closer to the screen. Humanity disappeared 300 years ago. Captain Ward's expression did not change. No. Your colonies are empty. Yes. Your ships vanished. Yes. No one has seen a human outside Sol for 3 centuries. That is also true. Vale felt anger rising inside him. Then where have you been? The human captain looked directly into his eyes. Here. The answer was simple. That made it worse. Vale looked at the giant ship behind Neptune. Why? Captain Ward did not answer. Instead, she asked, "Who sent you?" "No one." "That is not true. We followed a distress signal from a ship carrying a military device." Vale froze. "What device?" Captain Ward's eyes moved away for 1 second. When she looked back, her face was colder. "A weapon designed to open something your people were warned never touch." Vale felt the bridge grow colder. "What are you talking about?" The human captain was silent. Then alarms began screaming. Not on Vale's ship, on the human ship. Captain Ward turned quickly. Someone spoke behind her. "Captain, we have movement." "Location?" "Beyond Saturn." Ward's calm expression disappeared. Vale saw something new in her eyes. Concern. That frightened him more than the giant warship. The main screen changed. A dark point appeared near Saturn. Space around it began to bend. Vale stared. "What is that?" Captain Ward did not answer. The dark point grew. A circle formed in empty space. Something was opening. Something enormous. Then Vale's dead systems suddenly came back to life. Engines, weapons, navigation, everything. Sarah shouted, "We have full control." Vale looked at Captain Ward. "Why did you release us?" The human captain faced him. "Because you need to run." Vale stared. "Run from what?" For the first time, the human woman looked afraid. "From a reason your ancestors promised never to return." The connection ended. The giant human warship began to move. Thousands of hidden lights appeared across the solar system, around Neptune, near Uranus, between Saturn's moons, inside the asteroid belt, all across the darkness. They were human ships, thousands of them. No, tens of thousands. Humanity had never disappeared. Humanity had been waiting. And now, after 300 years, something had crossed the forbidden line with Vale. Something the humans had been preparing to face for centuries. Vale looked at the growing darkness near Saturn. Then a voice came from inside it. It spoke only 4 words. "We found you, humans." And every human warship in the solar system turned toward the sound. "We found you, humans." The 4 words filled the bridge of the silver dawn. No one moved. Commander Vale stared at the dark circle near Saturn. It was growing, slowly, silently. The stars behind it bent and disappeared. Vale had never seen anything like it. The circle was not a ship. It was not a natural object. It looked like a hole cut into space. And something was moving inside it. "Commander!" Sarah whispered. Vale did not answer. "Commander!" He turned. Sarah pointed at the sensor screen. The human ships. Vale looked. Thousands of hidden signals were appearing across the solar system, one after another. Then more. Then hundreds more. Vale had believed the system was empty. He had been wrong. There were ships inside the moons. Ships under the ice of distant worlds. Ships hidden inside rocks. Ships floating in the darkness between planets. Some were small. Others were larger than Andromedan cities. And every one of them was turning towards Saturn. Vale slowly sat in his command chair. "How many?" The sensor officer swallowed. "I cannot count them." "Try." "I did." The officer looked at him. "Our system stopped counting after 50,000. No one spoke. Vale looked at the giant human warship near Neptune. That ship alone could have destroyed an Andromedan battle fleet. Now, he knew it was only one of many. A message appeared. "Follow US." Vale frowned. "From humans?" Sarah nodded. A second message appeared. "Do not leave the formation." Vale looked at the dark circle near Saturn. "What happens if we refuse?" The human voice answered through the bridge. "You die." Vale stood. Captain Elena Ward appeared on the main screen again. This time, she was not calm. People moved quickly behind her. Red lights flashed across the human bridge. Vale looked at her. "What is coming through that thing?" Ward ignored the question. "Move your ship behind ours." "I asked you a question, and I gave you an order. This is my ship." Ward looked directly at him. "Commander, your ship entered Sol because someone sent you here." Vale froze. She continued. "Your research vessel carried a device. That device opened the gate. Vale looked toward Saturn. That circle is a gate? Yes. To where? Ward was silent. Vale stepped closer to the screen. To where? Not where. Ward's voice became quiet. When? The bridge went still. Vale stared at her. He almost believed he had heard the wrong word. What does that mean? Before Ward could answer, the darkness near Saturn moved. Something came through. At first, Vale saw a long black shape. Then another. Then 10 more. Ships. They were narrow and sharp. Their surfaces looked burned. They had no lights. No visible engines. They moved like dead things floating through water. The first ship came fully through the gate. It was larger than the Silver Dawn. The second was twice that size. Then hundreds followed. Vale stared at the screen. They found you, he whispered. Ward looked at him. No. What? They found you. Vale felt cold. The black ships did not turn toward Earth. They did not attack the human fleet. Every one of them turned toward the Silver Dawn. Alarm screamed. We are being targeted. Sarah shouted. How many? All of them. Vale looked at Ward. Why are they targeting us? Because of what your ship carries. We carry nothing. Ward's eyes narrowed. You are sure? Vale turned toward Sarah. Full scan. Every room. Every system. We already scanned after the trap. Do it again. The first black ship fired. A thin white line crossed space. Vale closed his eyes. Nothing happened. He opened them. A human ship had moved in front of the Silver Dawn. The white beam struck its side. The human vessel did not explode. It did not even move. The beam disappeared against its dark surface. Vale stared. The human ship was small. Smaller than his own. Yet it had blocked a weapon that his sensors could not even measure. Then the human vessel fired back. One flash. The black enemy ship vanished. There was no explosion. It was simply gone. Vale's mouth opened. What weapon was that? Ward answered without looking at him. Old. Vale stared at her. Everything you have is old. The dangerous things are. Another wave of black ships came through the gate. Human vessels moved to meet them. Vale expected a great battle. He expected fire, explosions, missiles. Instead, the humans fought in silence. One enemy ship vanished. Then another. Then 20. Human ships moved between them with impossible speed. They appeared in one place and disappeared into another. The black fleet fired again and again. Most of its weapons hit nothing. Vale watched in shock. The humans were not fighting like an army. They were hunting. But the enemy ships kept coming. Hundreds became thousands. The gate grew wider. Sarah shouted from her station. Commander, I found something. Vale turned. What? There's an unknown object inside our ship. Where? Sarah looked confused. Deck 9. Vale's eyes narrowed. Deck 9 is storage. Not anymore. He looked at the security screen. A small metal box sat in the middle of the empty room. Vale had never seen it before. How did that get there? No record. Send a security team. Ward shouted from the main screen. No. Vale turned toward her. What? Do not touch it. You know what it is? Yes. The human captain looked at the box. It is a beacon. Vale felt his stomach tighten. A beacon for those ships? Ward nodded. Vale looked toward the gate. Someone had placed the object on his ship. Someone had wanted the enemy to follow him into Sol. Can we destroy it? No. Why? Because it is already awake. The lights on the Silver Dawn flickered. A strange sound came from deep inside the ship. Metal against metal. Slow. Heavy. Sarah looked at Vale. That came from Deck 9. The security camera shook. The metal box opened. Something black moved inside it. Then the camera went dead. Vale reached for his weapon. Security team, report. No answer. Security team? Static. Then a scream. It lasted less than 1 second. Vale turned toward the door. Lock down Deck 9. Doors are not responding. The sound came again. Closer. Metal against metal. Something was moving through the ship. Captain Ward spoke. Vale listened carefully. He looked at her. Leave the bridge. What? Take your crew and leave now. Where do we go? A loud impact shook the ship. One of the lower decks lost power. Ward looked at him. To us. Vale stared. You want us to leave our ship? If you stay, you will not have a ship. The lights went out. The bridge became dark. Emergency lights came on. Then a new voice spoke. Not through the speakers. Not through the communication system. It came from inside the walls. Human. Vale stopped breathing. The voice sounded wrong. Too deep. Too slow. Human. Something hit the bridge door from the other side. Once. The metal bent inward. Several officers raised weapons. The thing hit again. The door cracked. Vale shouted, "Everyone back!" The door opened 1 inch. A black hand pushed through. It had too many fingers. The officers fired. Blue energy struck the hand. Nothing happened. The fingers slowly opened the door wider. Then the entire ship moved. Vale fell to the floor. The black hand vanished. Sarah looked at her screen. We are moving. Engines. Still offline. Then what is pulling us? The answer appeared outside. The giant human warship had moved beside them. A blue field surrounded the Silver Dawn. The human ship was pulling them away. The bridge door burst open. The creature stepped inside. It was tall, almost 3 meters. Its body was covered in black armor. There was no face, only a smooth, dark surface. The officers fired. The creature kept walking. It raised one hand. Every weapon in the room stopped working. Vale stepped back. The creature turned toward him. Then it spoke. Where is Earth? Vale froze. The creature moved closer. Where is Earth? Vale almost laughed. It was inside the Sol system. How could it not know where Earth was? Then he understood. The humans had hidden more than their ships. They had hidden their world. Vale looked at the navigation screen. Earth was gone. Not destroyed. Gone. The third planet did not appear on any sensor. The humans had hidden an entire planet. The creature moved closer. Show us. Vale looked at it. Then he smiled. No. The creature raised its hand. Before it could strike, the wall behind it disappeared. Not exploded. Disappeared. Air rushed out. The creature was pulled into space. Vale grabbed a command chair. Several officers screamed. Then a human figure stepped through the open wall. She wore black armor. Captain Ward. She held a small weapon in one hand. A clear energy field covered the hole behind her. Vale stared. How did you get here? Ward looked at the place where the creature had stood. Old technology. Vale almost shouted. Ward pointed toward the exit. Move. The crew obeyed. They ran through the damaged ship. Human soldiers appeared in the halls. They moved quickly, silently. Vale saw 3 more black creatures. The human soldiers destroyed them in seconds. Soon, the Andromedan crew entered a human transport ship. Vale was the last one inside. He looked back at the Silver Dawn. His ship floated alone. The black beacon inside, it was still active. What happens now? He asked. Ward stood beside him. We use your ship. For what? Bait. Vale turned sharply. The human transport moved away. Seconds later, the Silver Dawn began to fly toward Saturn, toward the gate. The enemy ships followed it, thousands of them. Vale watched his ship disappear into the darkness. Then the gate began to close. The Black Fleet tried to escape. Too late. The humans had trapped them. Vale looked at Ward. You planned this? Not all of it, but you knew what to do. We have practiced for 300 years. The gate closed. Every enemy ship inside Sol lost power. At the same time, Vale looked across the system. Thousands of human ships surrounded them. He finally understood. Humanity had not spent 3 centuries hiding. Humanity had spent 3 centuries preparing. Then Ward's communication device made a sound. She looked at the message. Her face changed. Vale noticed. What is it? Ward did not answer. He stepped closer. What happened? She slowly turned the screen toward him. The message had come from outside Sol, from Andromedan space. Vale read it. His heart stopped. Andromedan Grand Fleet mobilized. Destination, Sol System. Arrival, 9 days. Vale looked at Ward. That is impossible. No, she said. It is not. My people would never attack Sol. Ward's eyes became cold. Your people already did. Vale shook his head. What are you talking about? Ward opened an old file. A date appeared, 300 years earlier. Then she showed him a recording. Thousands of burning Andromedan warships filled the screen. Vale stared in horror. No history book had ever shown this battle. No officer had ever spoken about it. Ward looked at him. Your council told you humans disappeared. Vale slowly nodded. Ward closed the file. They lied. Why? Because 300 years ago, your empire entered Sol. She looked toward the hidden Earth, and only 7 ships returned. Vale felt the room grow cold. Ward stepped closer. Now your council is sending another fleet. Vale looked at the message again. 10,000 Andromedan warships were coming. His own people were about to cross the forbidden line. And this time, humanity was awake. Then a final message appeared on Vale's private screen. It came from the Andromedan Council. Commander Val is a traitor. Destroy his ship. Destroy all human contact. No survivors. Vale stared at the words. Captain Ward read them over his shoulder. For several seconds, neither of them spoke. Then Ward looked toward the stars. The last time your people came here, she said quietly, we let 7 ships go home. Vale looked at her. And this time, the human captain's face became completely still. This time, they are bringing 10,000. Far outside the Sol System, the Andromedan Grand Fleet entered faster than light space. Its admirals believed they were going to attack a dead system. They had no idea that 50,000 human warships were already waiting for them, and deep beneath the surface of Earth, something that had slept for 300 years began to wake. Deep beneath the surface of Earth, something began to wake. For 300 years, it had remained silent, waiting. Now, red lights appeared in a chamber larger than an Andromedan city. One by one, ancient machines came alive. A human voice spoke through the darkness. Enemy fleet detected. Another voice answered. How many? 10,412 ships. There was a short silence. Then came the final. The Andromedan Grand Fleet arrived 9 days later. 10,412 warships appeared outside the Sol System. They came together. The darkness filled with blue light as one ship after another left faster than light space. Small attack ships, heavy warships, carriers large enough to hold entire armies. And at the center of them all was the crown of Andromeda. It was the largest warship the Andromedan Empire had ever built. Grand Admiral Karaf stood on its bridge. He looked at the yellow star ahead. So, for 300 years, no Andromedan captain had crossed the forbidden line. Karaf was about to change that. Report, he said. An officer looked at his screen. No enemy ships detected. Karaf smiled. Of course not. Another officer turned toward him. Admiral, the old record said. Karaf looked at him. What old records? The officer became quiet. Karaf walked toward the main screen. The humans are gone, he said. Commander Vale has betrayed the Empire. He has created a false story to protect himself. No one answered. Karaf pointed toward the distant Sol System. There are no hidden fleets. He paused. No secret weapons. He smiled. And no humans. A warning appeared on the main screen. One small ship was approaching. Karaf frowned. Identify it. The officer checked the sensors. Unknown design. How large? 30 meters. Several officers laughed. Karaf did not. Is it armed? No weapons detected. The small ship stopped in front of the entire Andromedan fleet. 10,000 warships faced it. For several seconds, nothing happened. Then a human voice came through every communication system. Turn around. The bridge became silent. Karaf stared at the screen. That is all. Yes, Admiral. No name. No. No demands. No. Karaf slowly smiled. Open a channel. The human ship answered. A woman appeared on the screen. Captain Elena Ward. She stood alone. Koroth looked at her with open surprise. So the ghosts are real. Ward said nothing. Koroth moved closer to the screen. You are human? Yes. Then Commander Vale told the truth. Yes. Koroth laughed. Some officers laughed with him. Ward remained still. Koroth spread his arms. Look behind me, human. Ward did not turn. I know what is behind you. 10,000 warships. 10,412. The laughter stopped. Koroth's smile slowly disappeared. How do you know that? Ward ignored the question. You have not crossed a line yet. Koroth looked at the red border on his navigation screen. His fleet was only 1,000 kilometers away from it. Ward continued. You may still leave. Koroth looked around the bridge. Then he laughed again. You came here in one tiny ship to stop the largest fleet in Andromedan history? No. Ward's voice was calm. I came to give you a choice. Koroth leaned forward. And if I refuse, you will make another choice. What choice? How many of your people survive? The bridge became silent. Koroth's face hardened. Do you know who I am? Yes. I command a grand fleet. Yes. I have destroyed 37 enemy worlds. Yes. I have never lost a battle. Ward looked at him. You have never fought here. Koroth's eyes narrowed. He turned to his weapons officer. Target the human ship. Several officers looked surprised. Admiral, target it. Weapons locked onto the tiny vessel. Ward did not move. Koroth looked at her. Last chance, human. Ward shook her head. No. Koroth smiled. For you, he raised one hand. Fire. The entire front line of the Andromedan fleet opened fire. Thousands of missiles moved toward the small human ship. Energy beams crossed the darkness. Koroth watched. He expected the human vessel to disappear. It did not. The missiles stopped. Every one of them. Thousands of weapons froze in space. The bridge became silent. Koroth stared. What happened? The weapons officer moved his hands across the controls. I do not know. Detonate them. They are not responding. Fire again. The second attack began. More missiles. More energy weapons. Everything stopped. A giant wall of weapons now floated between the Andromedan fleet and the human ship. Ward was still on the screen. She looked almost bored. Koroth's hands closed into fists. What did you do? We stopped them. How? Ward looked at him. You would not understand. Koroth turned red with anger. All ships advance. The Grand Fleet moved forward. The first ship crossed the red line. Then the second. Then hundreds. Ward watched them. You have entered Seoul. Koroth smiled. Yes. Ward lowered her eyes. That was your second choice. The human ship disappeared. Not moved. Not escaped. It simply vanished. Koroth turned toward the sensor officer. Find it. I cannot. Then the lights went out. The crown of Andromeda became dark. Emergency lights appeared. Koroth looked around. Report. Engines offline. Weapons offline. Communications failing. Koroth grabbed his chair. What hit us? Nothing. The same reports came from across the fleet. 10,000 ships had lost power at the same time. They were helpless. Koroth looked through the main window. The stop missiles began to turn. Slowly, one by one, they pointed back toward the Andromedan fleet. Several officers stepped away from their screens. Koroth stared at the weapons. His own missiles were now facing him. A human voice filled the bridge. Grand Admiral Koroth. He looked up. Captain Ward appeared again. This time, she was standing on the bridge of the giant human ship near Neptune. Koroth could not speak. Ward looked at him. You fired first. Koroth stared at the thousands of missiles. Yes. You crossed a line. Yes. You brought weapons into our home. Koroth swallowed. Yes. Ward waited. Koroth finally understood what she wanted. He looked down. We surrender. Nothing happened. The missiles remained pointed at his fleet. Koroth looked up again. I said we surrender. I heard you. then destroy the missiles. No. Karatha's face became pale. Why? Ward looked at him. Because they're not ours. For the first time in his life, Karath had no answer. Ward continued. We will return them when you leave. You expect us to trust you? Ward looked at the helpless fleet. No. Karath understood the insult. Humanity did not need his trust. Humanity had complete control. Then a voice came from behind him. Admiral. Karath turned. The censor officer was staring at his screen. What? We have another contact. Human? No. Karath froze. The officer looked afraid. Behind us. The main screen changed. Far beyond the Andromedan fleet, space was bending. A dark circle appeared. Then another. Then 10 more. Vale watched from the human command station near Earth. He stood beside Captain Ward's second officer. His face became pale. I know those gates. The officer looked at him. The same as before? Vale nodded, but something was wrong. The first gate near Saturn had been large. These gates were enormous, and more were appearing. 20, 50, 100. Ward's voice came through the station. All human units, hold position. Vale looked at the officer. Hold position? The officer nodded. Why are you not attacking? We do not fire first. Vale almost laughed. Those things attacked you before. Not these ships. They are the same enemy. Maybe. Vale stared at him. You are waiting for them to shoot? Yes. That is insane. The human officer looked at Vale. No. He pointed at the helpless Andromedan fleet. That is why they are still alive. Vale had no answer. The first black ship came through the gate. Then another. Then thousands. But these ships were different from the ones Vale had seen before. They were larger. Much larger. Some looked like moving cities. Others looked like black moons. The Andromedan fleet was trapped between them and Sol. Grand Admiral Karath stared at the enemy. Restore our power. The human voice answered. No. Karath looked at Ward's image. We need our weapons. You use them against us. We will be destroyed. Ward looked at the Black Fleet. Not if you follow orders. Karatha's face twisted with anger. I do not take orders from humans. Ward was silent. One black enemy ship fired. The beam crossed space. It struck an Andromedan cruiser. The ship exploded. Karath watched hundreds of his people die. He slowly looked at Ward. What are your orders? Ward answered at once. Move your fleet toward Sol. Our engines are dead. They are not anymore. Power returned. Across the Andromedan fleet, engines came alive, but the weapons remained dead. Karath looked at his officers. Move. 10,000 ships turned toward Sol. The Black Fleet followed. Vale watched the enemy enter the Forbidden Zone. He looked at the human officer. They are coming. Yes. You are letting them come. Yes. Vale felt a terrible thought enter his mind. He looked at the hidden human ships across the system. You wanted them inside. The officer smiled. For the first time. Yes. The enemy fleet crossed the red line. Nothing happened. They moved deeper. Still nothing. Karath looked around. Where are the human ships? His censor officer shook his head. Gone. What? All human signals have disappeared. Karath looked toward Sol. The system seemed empty again. Then a message appeared on every screen. Evacuation route open. A blue path appeared through the system. The Andromedan fleet followed it. The enemy ships followed them. Past Neptune. Past Uranus. Closer to Saturn. Vale watched the trap close. What happens now? The human officer looked toward Earth. Now they make their choice. The enemy fleet fired. Not at the Andromedans. Not at the human ships. They fired at Earth. Or where they believed Earth was. Thousands of black weapons crossed the system. For 1 second, nothing happened. Then a human voice spoke. It was not Captain Ward. It came from Earth itself. Hostile action confirmed. The voice was calm, almost gentle. Home defense authorized. Vale looked at the sensor screen. Something impossible happened. The moon opened. A line appeared across its surface. Then another. Huge sections of rock moved apart. Deep inside the moon, white light appeared. Vale stepped closer. The moon is a ship? The human officer shook his head. No. Then what is it? A door. The moon opened wider. Something began to come out. At the same time, Mars changed. The red dust across its surface moved. Giant structures rose from beneath the ground. Jupiter's moons opened. The asteroid belt changed direction. Millions of rocks began to move together. Vale stared in shock. The entire Sol system was waking up. Grand Admiral Kara saw it too. His anger disappeared. His fear disappeared. Only wonder remained. He whispered one word. Humans. Captain Ward appeared on every ship. Andromedan. Human. Enemy. She looked at the Black Fleet. You entered our home. The enemy ships continued firing. Ward's face remained calm. You attacked our guests. Koroth stared at the screen. Guests? After everything he had done, the humans still called the Andromedans guests. Ward continued. You fired at Earth. Behind her, thousands of hidden human ships appeared, then tens of thousands. But they were not the most frightening thing. The darkness beyond Earth moved. Something enormous was coming through the open moon. Vale could not understand its size. His sensors could not measure it. Ward looked at the enemy fleet. You have made your choice. A strange voice answered from the largest black ship. Humanity should have remained hidden. Ward looked toward the open moon. No. For the first time, she smiled. We were not hiding from you. The enemy voice became silent. Ward continued. We were hiding you from the rest of the galaxy. Vale felt his blood turn cold. Then he understood. The Black Fleet was not the true enemy. It had never been the true enemy. Humanity had built a fortress around Sol for 300 years to keep something else trapped. Something ancient. Something powerful. Something now waking beneath Earth. The human officer beside Vale received a message. He read it. Then his face became pale. Vale looked at him. What is it? The officer slowly raised his eyes. The enemy attack damaged the prison. What prison? The floor began to shake. Far below Earth's surface, the ancient chamber opened. A voice that had not spoken for 300 years filled every human ship. Containment failure. Vale stared at Earth. What did you lock down there? The human officer did not answer. The voice spoke again. Prisoners awake. Then every black enemy ship stopped moving. Their weapons went silent. Their engines died. For the first time since they had entered Sol, the creatures inside those ships showed fear. A final message came from their largest vessel. Only 5 words. Humans, put it back to sleep. And from deep inside Earth, something laughed. Something laughed beneath Earth. The sound came through every ship in the Sol system. Human, Andromedan, enemy. No one knew how. It did not come through the communication systems. It seemed to come from space itself. Commander Vale stood frozen. The human officer beside him looked at the screen. For the first time, Vale saw a real fear on human face. What is down there? Vale asked. The officer did not answer. The laugh came again, deeper this time. The lights inside the human station flickered. Then every black enemy ship began to move backward. Slowly. All of them. Thousands of giant warships had entered Sol to attack humanity. Now they were trying to leave. Grand Admiral Koroth watched from the bridge of the crown of Andromeda. He could not believe his eyes. They are retreating, he whispered. His censor officer shook his head. No, Admiral. Koroth turned. What? They are running. The difference was clear. The black ships were not keeping formation. They were not protecting each other. They were pushing toward the edge of Sol as fast as they could. Some crashed into each other. Others left smaller ships behind. The enemy that crossed time to find humanity was terrified. Koroth looked toward Earth. What did the humans keep inside that planet? No one answered. Then Captain Elena Ward appeared on every screen. Her face was calm again. Human fleet, defense level 1. Thousands of human ships moved at once. Close all gates. Near Saturn, Neptune, and the edge of Sol, giant machines came alive. The dark circles in space began to close. The enemy ships moved faster. One of their commanders sent a message. Do not close the gates. Ward did not answer. Human, listen to us. The gates continued to close. The enemy voice became louder. You do not understand what you have done. Ward finally looked at the screen. We understand. No, you do not. The largest black ship stopped. Its commander appeared. Vale stared at the creature. It looked nothing like the soldiers that had entered his ship. It was thin, old. Its gray skin hung over a narrow face. For black eyes looked at Ward. We came to stop you from waking it. Ward's expression did not change. You attacked Earth because you would not answer. You opened fire because we were afraid. Ward looked at the creature. That does not make you different from anyone else. The alien commander became silent. Then the Earth shook. Vale saw it on the screen. A line of light appeared across the Atlantic Ocean. It was thousands of kilometers long. The ocean moved. Huge waves rose. Deep below the water, something pushed upward. Vale stepped toward the screen. Is that the prisoner? The human officer finally answered. No. Vale looked at him. Then what is it? The officer swallowed. The lock. The ocean opened. A giant metal structure rose from beneath the water. It was larger than a city. Then another rose from the Pacific, another from the Arctic, another from the land. 7 giant structures appeared across Earth. White energy moved between them. A cage of light formed around the planet. Vale stared. Your whole world is a prison. No, the officer said. Earth is a key. Vale felt cold. Then where is the prison? The officer looked toward the sun. Vale followed his eyes. No, the sun changed. For 1 second, its light became weak. Then dark lines appeared across its surface. Vale could not speak. The human officer whispered, The prison is soul. The yellow star shook. A voice filled the system. 300 years. It was the same voice that had laughed. 300 years in darkness. The black enemy ships stopped trying to escape. Their commander looked at Ward. You must destroy the system. Kurath heard the message. His eyes widened. Destroy soul? The enemy commander continued. Destroy your star. Destroy your worlds. Destroy everything. Ward stared at him. No. If it escapes, it will consume this galaxy. No. Then you will kill us all. Ward leaned closer to the screen. We do not destroy our home because we are afraid. The creature's 4 eyes narrowed. You cannot control it. Ward looked toward Earth. We did before. Vale turned toward the human officer. You captured that thing? The officer shook his head. No. Then who did? The officer looked at him. Humanity. Vale frowned. That is what I asked. You asked who captured it. Yes. The officer's voice became quiet. Humanity did not capture it 300 years ago. Vale waited. The answer came. We captured it 12,000 years ago. Vale stared at him. That is impossible. The officer said nothing. Vale looked at Earth. Human history records said humans had been primitive 12,000 years ago. They had lived in small groups. They had used simple tools. They had not traveled between stars. At least, that was what every history book said. Vale slowly understood. Your history is false too. The officer looked at him. Parts of it. The voice from the sun laughed again. Open the door. The human officer closed his eyes. Vale looked at him. Who is it? This time, the human answered. The first one. The words meant nothing to Vale. The officer continued. Before the known species built their first cities, it moved between galaxies. What did it want? Everything. Vale waited. The officer looked at the sun. It did not destroy worlds. What did it do? It changed them. The screen showed an old image. A planet, green, alive. Then a dark cloud reached it. Seconds later, the planet changed. The oceans became black. The land moved. Something huge rose from the surface. The entire world had become alive. Vale stepped back. What happened to the people? They became part of it. Vale felt sick. And humans stopped this thing? Yes. How? The officer looked at him. We lost almost everything. Vale remembered the old human history. A great silence. No advanced cities. No machines. Humanity beginning again. He understood. You destroyed your own civilization. To trap it. Vale stared at him. You sent yourselves back thousands of years. The officer nodded. And then you forgot. Most humans did. The voice from the sun spoke again. You forgot me. Captain Ward looked toward the star. No. The voice became silent. Ward continued. We never forgot. Across Earth, the 7 giant locks grew brighter. The human fleet changed formation. The moon opened wider. Vale looked at the massive object coming from inside it. He finally saw its shape. It was a ring, a giant metal ring, thousands of kilometers wide. It moved slowly toward Earth. Then another ring came from behind Mars. A third rose from inside Jupiter. Vale stared. What are those? The human officer smiled. The new cage. The rings moved into position around the sun. The first one laughed. You think your machines can hold me? Ward answered. No. The voice paused. Then why build them? Ward looked toward the human fleet. Because they are not for you. The black enemy commander suddenly understood. His ship turned. Retreat. Too late. The giant rings activated. White light crossed the solar system. Every black ship froze. Vale stared. What happened? The human officer looked at the enemy fleet. We found them. You already knew where they were. Not the ships. The officer pointed toward the largest enemy vessel. The mines inside them. Vale felt cold. The Black Fleet had not come to destroy humanity. They had come because something inside them belonged to the prisoner. Ward spoke. Begin separation. The enemy commander screamed. No. White light passed through the first black ship. Something dark came out of it. Not a creature. A shadow. It moved through space like smoke. Then another shadow left another ship. Thousands appeared. They all tried to move toward the sun. The human rings pulled them away. Vale stared. What are those things? Pieces. Pieces of what? The prisoner. The truth became clear. The first one had been trapped inside Sol, but parts of it had escaped. Those parts had entered other species, other worlds, other armies. The Black Fleet had not found humanity. The prisoner had called its own pieces home. The enemy commander fell to the floor. When he stood again, his 4 eyes looked different. The fear was gone. He looked confused. Where are we? Ward watched him. You are free. The alien commander looked around. His voice shook. For how long? Ward did not answer. The shadows moved faster toward the sun. The giant rings pulled harder. One by one, the dark pieces were trapped inside white fields. Vale watched thousands of enemy ships become silent. The battle was ending without a single human missile. Kara stood on his bridge. He looked at the human fleet. For the first time in his life, he understood how small his empire was. The Andromedans had feared human weapons, but weapons were not the reason Sol was forbidden. Humanity had spent thousands of years standing between the galaxy and something worse. Then an alarm sounded. The human officer beside Vale turned pale. What happened? Vale asked. The officer did not answer. On the screen, one of the dark shadows had escaped. It moved toward Earth. Fast. Ward shouted. Stop it. Human ships fired. The shadow passed through them. The moon fired. It passed through the beam. The 7 locks around Earth changed direction. Too slow. The shadow reached the planet. It disappeared into the Atlantic Ocean. Everything became silent. Vale looked at the human officer. Where did it go? The officer checked his screen. His face lost all color. It found a host. Who? The answer appeared. A human face. Vale knew her. Captain Elena Ward. On the main screen, Ward stood completely still. Her eyes were closed. Captain, someone called. No answer. Then Ward opened her eyes. They were black. Every human weapon in Sol turned toward her ship. Ward smiled, but the smile was not hers. The first one spoke through her mouth. Thank you for building me a new body. The giant rings around the sun began to fail. One after another, their lights went dark. The human fleet moved away from Ward's ship. Vale looked at the officer beside him. What happens now? The officer stared at the possessed captain. Now we do the one thing the first one never expected. What? The officer opened a hidden communication channel. A message was sent beyond Sol, beyond Andromedan space, beyond the known galaxy. Only 3 words. Humanity is awake. Vale stared at him. Who did you send that to? The officer looked into the darkness between the stars. Our colonies. Vale could not breathe. Your colonies are empty. The human officer smiled. The ones in this galaxy are far beyond the Milky Way, in places no Andromedan ship had ever reached. Stars began to disappear, not because they were dying. Something was moving in front of them. Human ships, millions of them. For 300 years, the galaxy had believed humanity was hiding inside Sol. It had been wrong. Sol was not humanity's last home. It was only the place where humans had left their oldest guard, and now the rest of humanity was coming back. Inside Captain Ward's body, the first one stopped smiling. For the first time in 12,000 years, it felt fear. For the first time in 12,000 years, the first one felt fear. Not because of the human fleet, not because of the weapons around Sol, but because of what was coming. Far beyond the Milky Way, ancient human signals reached across the darkness. They traveled through hidden gates, through forgotten worlds, through places even the Andromedan Empire had never discovered. The message was simple. Humanity is awake. For thousands of years, many species believed humans were only a small civilization that had disappeared. They were wrong. Humanity had never disappeared. It had spread. Then it had hidden, not because it was weak, because it was waiting. Commander Vale watched the impossible scene in silence. Millions of lights appeared beyond the edge of Sol. At first, he thought they were stars. Then his sensors confirmed the truth. Ships, human ships, more than he could count. They came from every direction. Some were small, some were larger than planets. Some looked ancient. Others looked like they had been built yesterday. Vale stared at the screen. How many? The human officer beside him checked the numbers, then stopped. What? The officer looked at him. The system cannot calculate it. Vale slowly shook his head. The Andromedan Empire spent thousands of years building its fleet. The officer looked toward the human ships, and humanity spent longer preparing. Inside the Sol system, Captain Elena Ward still floated above Earth, but she was no longer alone. The first one looked through her eyes. It smiled. You hid well. Ward's body stood still, but her voice changed. It was deeper, older. You built a prison around a galaxy. The first one laughed. And you built one around yourself. The black shadow inside Ward moved. The human fleet aimed every weapon at her, but no one fired. Because Captain Ward was still inside, Vale looked at the screen. Why are they waiting? The officer answered. Because they are trying to save her. Even now. Yes. Vale looked confused. After everything? The officer nodded. That is why you never understood humans. The first one looked across the fleet. You still care about one person? Ward's face changed for a second. A small sign of resistance. The first one noticed. You cannot stop me. Inside her own mind, Elena Ward stood in darkness. She could hear the creature. She could feel its power. For thousands of years, the first one had controlled worlds, changed civilizations, destroyed entire species. But it had never understood one thing. Humans did not survive because they were stronger. They survived because they refused to give up on each other. Elena looked at the darkness around her. You made one mistake. The first one laughed. And what is that? You came into my mind. The creature became silent. Then the darkness shook. Outside, the human fleet changed formation. The giant rings around Sol stopped failing. Their lights returned. Vale looked at the screen. What happened? The officer smiled. She woke up. Who? Her. The image changed. Captain Ward opened her eyes. The black color disappeared. For 1 second, she was human again. The first one tried to take control. No, Ward spoke. You have spent thousands of years entering other minds. She smiled. But you never learn how humans think. The first one screamed. A wave of dark energy exploded from Ward's ship. Human ships moved away. The entire Sol system shook. The creature tried to escape, but the rings activated. The same technology that had trapped it thousands of years ago returned. The first one pulled against the prison. You cannot hold me. Ward answered. No. She looked toward Earth. We do not need to. The first one stopped. What? Ward looked at the human fleet. We only needed time. The stars around Sol changed. The millions of human ships moved, not toward the enemy, toward the sun. They formed a giant circle around the system. Vale watched in shock. What are they doing? The officer answered. They're opening the path. Where? The officer smiled. Home. A massive gate opened beyond Sol. Not like the enemy gates. Not dark. Not dangerous. Bright. Beautiful. Through it, Vale saw something impossible. More human worlds. Thousands of them. Green planets. Ocean worlds. Artificial stars. Human civilizations that had existed beyond the galaxy. The Andromedans had believed Earth was humanity's last place. It was only the beginning. The first one felt it too. For the first time, it understood. Humanity had not been trapped with it. It had been trapped with humanity. The creature screamed. You were supposed to be gone. Ward looked at it. We were. The first one became silent. Ward continued. For a while, the final battle began. But it was not a battle of weapons. It was a battle of control. The first one tried to break the rings. Human ships repaired them. It tried to enter new minds. Human networks blocked it. It tried to escape through space. Human gates closed before it. Every move it made, humanity was already prepared. Because humanity had been preparing for 12,000 years. The black shadow became smaller, smaller, until only a small piece remained. A tiny darkness floating near Earth. Vale watched. That is it. The officer nodded. The strongest being in history. Vale looked confused. It looked so small. The officer looked at the shadow. Most dangerous things do. Captain Ward moved closer to it. The first one spoke weakly. You cannot destroy me. Ward looked at it. No, then I will return. Maybe. The creature waited. Ward smiled. But not here. The rings opened. A small gate appeared. The first one sensed something. What is that? Ward answered. A place without worlds. The creature became afraid. No, a place without minds. The shadow moved backward. No, a place where you cannot change anything. The first one screamed. Human ships pushed the final piece through the gate. Then the gate closed. Silence returned to Sol. For the first time in 12,000 years. Peace. Vale stood on the human command station. He looked at Earth. The planet was still there. The moon was still there. The sun was still burning. Everything looked normal. But he knew the truth now. Sol was not a forgotten system. It was the greatest fortress in the galaxy. Weeks later, the Andromedan fleet prepared to leave. Grand Admiral Karath stood before Captain Ward. He looked different, older, humbler. I spent my entire life believing humans were a dangerous species. Ward said nothing. Karath looked toward Earth. I was wrong. What did you believe? Karath answered. That humans were dangerous because of their weapons. He looked at the millions of human ships. Now I understand. Ward waited. Karath continued. The weapons were never the reason we feared you. Then what was... Karath looked back at Sol. You never stopped protecting everyone. Ward said nothing, because that was the truth. Humans had fought many wars. They had built powerful weapons. They had defeated enemies. But their greatest strength was not destruction. It was endurance, the ability to stand when everyone else fell. Before leaving, Vale asked one final question. Commander Ward. She looked at him. Why did the Andromedans never enter the Sol system? Ward looked at the yellow star, at Earth, at the hidden ships, at the place humanity had guarded for thousands of years. Then she answered, because Sol is not just a star system. Vale waited. Ward smiled. It is a warning. To who? To anyone who thinks humanity disappeared. Years later, Andromedan children learned a new story. Not about a war, not about a defeat, about a place, a forbidden system, a yellow star, a blue planet, and the species that live there. The lesson was always the same. Never underestimate humans. Never assume silence means weakness. Never believe a hidden enemy is gone. Because sometimes the most dangerous force in the galaxy is not the one that attacks. It is the one that waits. And far away, beyond the edge of known space, new civilizations looked toward the Sol system. They saw the human ships. They saw the lights around Earth. And they finally understood why the Andromedans never returned. They were never afraid of Earth. They were afraid of what Earth had been protecting. And they were afraid of what humanity would do when it finally stopped hiding.